support. And most importantly, a big thank you this evening to Matt Weintraub, the whole VBS team for handling all the logistics, communications, and Plan Bs necessary during COVID. Also, a special shout out to Steve Perlman for all of your help. So whether your connection to VBS is more recent or goes back 50 plus years, we value your input. Some of us are connected to VBS because we come to shul regularly, while some come less regularly. Some of us are connected because our children were educated by one or more of our VBS schools, while many of us are here because we love to learn with and from our rabbis. Some of us show up to eat bagels and schmooze with friends, while some of us show up to play basketball, right here. While we may have different reasons for our connections, all of us are grateful to VBS for the role it plays in enriching our Jewish lives. To be clear, our task is to identify rabbinic leadership that will speak to the next generation of Jews while honoring the legacy of our synagogue community. We are all here, but we want to make sure that our children and their children will be here as well. We're very excited to introduce Rabbi Witkowsky, who is joined this evening by his wife, Erin Beezer, and Rosalind was going to tell you all about Rabbi Witkovsky.
Hello, everyone. I also wanted to thank everyone who's on Zoom. We have a lot of congregants who've joined us through Zoom. So hello, everyone, and welcome. So Rabbi Witkowski has been a rabbi at Park Avenue Synagogue for many years, and we are thrilled that they made the trip. Him and his wife, Erin, came in this morning, and we are really appreciative, especially during this tricky time. Together, they're blessed with 2 children, ages 5 and 2, and the 5-year-old's birthday is actually tomorrow. As a beloved rabbi at his current shul, Rabbi Witkowski has dedicated himself, I can take this off, not only on the pulpit, but has grown the youth department, created avenues of connection for millennials and Gen Z, and generated new adult education initiatives. He was ordained at the Jewish Theological Seminary, where in addition to his ordination, he earned a master's degree in Talmud and rabbinic literature. A true Midwestern boy, he grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and after graduating from Oberlin College with a BA in Classics, Jewish Studies, as well as Ultimate Frisbee, I didn't know that was a degree, he studied at the Pardes Institute in Jerusalem. He is currently a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and he sits on the Religious Leadership Advisory Board at the Jewish Theological Seminary. Please join me in welcoming Rabbi Witkowski as he gives a talk on his vision of the future of conservative Judaism. And following the talk, we'll have our president, Jeff Goss, join him, and they'll be sitting down to have a Q&A. So thank you so much, and here we go.
Thank you very, very much. Let's turn this off. All right. Thank you very much for the introduction. Nurit and Rosalind, thank you for all that you've done to welcome us here. Jeff, thank you for getting us at the airport. Thank you for all that you have done. Rabbi Feinstein, thank you for having us here in your shul. I was asked, I think, Nurit, when we were talking, you put it as the question was, why synagogue? And why synagogue is sort of like asking a person from Wisconsin, why cheese? Or from New York, why shout at traffic? But it's the right question. And it's exactly the one that we need to be asking ourselves as the world churns and changes. Why organize ourselves like this? Why synagogue? The question is both ancient and new. We read last week in the Parsha that there were a large number of Israelites who chose to remain slaves in Egypt rather than risk leaving with Moshe. Even for the Israelites who made the journey into freedom, the refrain, "Why did you take us out of Egypt? It would have been better there," is common throughout Exodus. We've always had to justify a reason to participate in this chosen people. But also the question of why be a part of a synagogue is new to our generation. Our parents and grandparents rarely asked why synagogue. They may have asked which synagogue, but that was different. Participation was taken as a given. And it's not that the past generation was so pious, though I'm sure they were. Membership in a shul was required for assimilation into American culture. Good Americans joined churches and synagogues and Rotary clubs. It's what they did to fit in. Now, as American culture moves away from religion, a Pew study came out last month that showed that according to almost every metric, in every demographic, but especially among youth, secularization is on the rise. We find ourselves asking again, so why synagogue? Now, many answers have been given to this question, and they basically fall into two categories, one negative and one positive. The negative one goes something like, we've been doing this for 2,000 years. You really want to be the one who lets the ball drop? What about the ancestors who suffered and bled to practice this religion? You want to let them down? The negative argument is summed up the most succinctly by Fackenheim's 614th commandment. Don't give Hitler a posthumous victory. Now, the positive argument, while familiar, is a little less clear. It goes something like, being a part of a synagogue is good for you. We have wise values to impart. You will benefit from the community, the prayer, the ritual. Synagogue life will make you and your family better people, so please join us. Both of these arguments are of course true, and we do indeed owe it to those who lost their lives for our faith to get over our apathy and walk in the paths that they paved. We can also derive great benefit and joy from being a part of a sacred community. I felt both of these forces in my life. I know what it is to be sitting in a car in the McDonald's drive-thru arguing about why I don't want to have to go to Hebrew school. And having my mom tell me that I'm Jewish and this is what Jews do. It's a version of the negative argument. I also had times where I was thrilled to go to synagogue because I knew I'd see my friends from other schools. I'd maybe learn something interesting, and if I was lucky, sit next to my middle school crush. The push and pull of the negative and positive reasons to be a part of community work for us differently throughout our lives. Now, Rabbi Schulweis actually put this dichotomy into better words than I ever could. I think that's a phrase I have to get used to saying, yeah? So maybe you heard this one. He told the story of a pet fish that one day started to swim a little funny and float up towards the top of the water. His uncle told him to pour salt on the fish, and through a miracle of chemistry, it revived the animal for a short time, but didn't fix what was really wrong. And so the fish finally died, and no amount of salt would revive it. He used this story to indicate that the negative reasons to be Jewish, the salt, works for a time, but won't fix the real problem of disengagement with Jewish life. What Rabbi Schulweis understood and spent his life addressing is that we can't rely on the negative. We have to focus on what is positive, what we can create and be together as a community if we want to survive. The need for a positive Jewish identity is as real today as it was 50 years ago, as it was thousands of years ago. In the Torah that we will read this week, we see God and Moses creating and articulating the reasons to be a part of the system. Parshat Mishpatim, which means laws, is a continuation of the revelation on Mount Sinai, and it essentially begins what will be the rest of the Torah. Lots and lots of laws. Now I have to say, sometimes I find this parsha a little rough. All of the parshiot before are full of narratives, amazing stories, things people make movies about. Then you hit Mishpatim and realize, oi, the rest of the Torah is going to be laws. It's sort of like you're cruising down the 405 and everything's fine until you turn onto the 101 and realize, I'm going to be here for a while. Did I get that right? Okay, all right, good. But while the laws seem a little rough, there is a reason they get so much biblical real estate. It's through these laws that God and Moshe lay out their hopes and their dreams for the future. Now, at first it might not feel that way. It's a lot of laws, each seemingly stranger and more problematic than the last. You need to help your enemy's donkey when it's lying under its burden. You must let the land lie fallow every 7 years. Put a fence around your pit and observe Shabbat. The laws feel like they are squarely in the negative camp. Rules and restrictions on our freedom, but friends, they're just the opposite. The laws in the Torah act in the subjunctive. They imagine an ideal world as if everyone obeyed them. Help your enemy's ox means let's try to set aside our differences and help one another in a time of need. The laws of Shemitah and letting the land lie fallow are teaching us to be kind and gentle with our planet. Shabbat reminds us of our power to stop what we're doing and reflect on the week and our lives. Covering a pit that you've dug on your property might seem like the height of obscurity, but it's essentially telling us that our actions have consequences for the health and safety of others. The Torah is creating its idea of the perfect society, and it's doing so by legislating. Laws are a love language in the Torah, and they will remain even for us today. Jews basically have a few love languages: laws, more laws, debates about laws, and food. We express our values, our hopes, our fears through laws, and we use the language of law even when we know that they're not so enforceable. And because lightning bolts don't rain down on us from the heavens for each violation, the rabbis are left to justify themselves. Why follow these laws? The answer is the same as why synagogue. For some it's negative. Don't be the weak link. Our ancestors followed the laws and so should we. For others, positive. Following the laws does something good for us. Rabbi Feinstein has written beautifully, you guys grade on a steep curve around here, about the need for laws for spiritual growth. Giving the time and care to follow each rule of Judaism gives us the ability to appreciate the world around us. He cites Midrash Rabbah, that the laws were given so that people could refine themselves and become better. As anyone who's ever tried to hold a meditative practice or exercise regimen knows, thinking of these things as law is the best path to success. So, laws give us a framework to fit ourselves into. They help us refine ourselves, and they also bind us together. There's a trust that comes from knowing we're beholden to the same rules. Shared laws, shared language, shared holidays, shared practice. These are all the things that have kept the Jewish people together through our millennia of exile. They're also the same opportunities provided by our synagogues today. Synagogues give us a framework of practice and thought that we can fit into even as we disagree. They give us the chance to make ourselves better people, and they bind us together. It's clear to even the casual observer that there's trouble on the horizon for Jewish communities. And it isn't only the currents of secularization that threaten the world of the shul. A culture of on-demand content for whom attending services on someone else's schedule are anathema. Growing political polarization that threatens the fabric of many communities. And of course, the constant and potentially growing threat of anti-Semitism. There's a lot of unknown that we face as the tectonic plates of our world shift around us. But as we look to prepare ourselves for the road ahead, we should take comfort and hope, knowing that we have the same power that Rabbis Schulweis and Feinstein had, the same power that the Torah had. We have the ability to control and shape this synagogue and make it reflect our ideal world. And our ideal world will clearly incorporate the best of the new. New ways of reaching people, new ways of including people, new ways of teaching and gathering all who want to join. And while we innovate, we will of course look to the past, preserving our tradition and the memory of those who've come before. We will create together a community that is set up to welcome all people. We will create a community where everyone feels safe. We will create a community where everyone feels comfortable, but not so comfortable that they don't grow and learn. Mostly, we will remain a place that connects each and every one of its constituent parts. Now, in the middle of all the laws, God sneaks in a phrase of a different quality. God tells the people, V'anshe kadosh tihiyun li. You shall be a holy people to me. And one of our commentaries, Rabbeinu Bachia, notes that the grammar is off. Anshe kadosh. It should have said Anshe kadoshim in the plural. You will all be holy. We learn from this, he says, that holiness comes only from us all being together as one. That, says Bachia, is the power of Israel. Our power in the years ahead assuredly lies in our ability to be together. And we must bind ourselves together because the one thing that I know for certain is that we're going to need each other in the years to come. Perhaps more so than 20 years ago, or 50 years ago, or 2000. We're going to need each other. As we grow and change, we're going to need to be connected in person and virtually. As the world shifts and finds its new normal, we're going to need a group to rely on. And as we all live our lives, we will more than ever need others to share meaning with, to find comfort in times of sorrow and joy in the times of celebration. We will need a place that gives us a home where we're known and seen, and a place that asks something of us as well, to do a little more to make ourselves and the world better. The promise of the synagogue is that we will be here for you for your entire life, and that's something that we all need. We will all of us need a place that does what the word synagogue means, draws people together. Thank you very much.
No? Can you hear me? Oh, there you go. Okay. Thank you, Rabbi, for that wonderful educational and your inspiration. I just learned two things. One is, God willing, you come here, we need taller lecterns. And two, you just answered 4 of my questions. So we'll have to think off the cuff. I'm going to start with the most complicated question of all, and then we'll work our way back. USC or UCLA? No.
UCLA.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I see that. I'm out of here.
Shabbat shalom.
Yeah, Shabbat. I'm a proud USC alum. Tell us about your rabbinic journey. How did you get here? Who are your inspirational teachers? Who were your rabbis who you just admired and learned from? And how you ended up at Park Avenue and why you've been so successful?
Sure. So I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, as it was said in our in the bio. All right, the proud and the few. Okay. And growing up in a smaller synagogue where it was almost entirely lay-led, and so we all had to kind of pitch in. And as soon as I learned how to lead some services, I was asked to lead those services. And if I was able to help the kids on Yom Kippur, then I helped the kids on Yom Kippur. And that was my first introduction into what it meant to have some responsibility in the Jewish world. And it was rewarding and wonderful, and not just because of the friends that I mentioned already. But I didn't think I wanted to be a rabbi because people from Madison, Wisconsin don't become rabbis, they become professors. And so that was my goal for a long time. And even once I went to, even in rabbinical school, I thought I wanted to be a Talmud professor and not a pulpit rabbi. But my role models and people that I met at JTS, some amazing professors, amazing pulpit rabbis. I had the benefit and fortune of living in White Plains, New York, for the last few years of rabbinical school, where I learned from Rabbi Gordon Tucker, who's a friend and a mentor, and was really an inspiration of what it means to serve a community. And I also had the privilege of being an intern in New Orleans, where I also learned what it means to be in a pulpit and part of the fabric of a Jewish life. And once I got a taste of that, I didn't really want to go back. And so that was what led me into the pulpit world instead of academia. And it brought me to Park Avenue.
Nice. Thank you. As you mentioned in your drash, we've been very fortunate. As Rosalind and Narit said, we've had one search in 50 years because of the legacy of Rabbi Schulweis and the brilliance of Rabbi Feinstein. How do we incorporate Rabbi Feinstein's skills and Rabbi Schulweis's legacy to build the community of the future?
I mean, it's easy. They laid amazing foundations. Follow the blueprint and see where it goes. No, which I seriously, I mean that Rabbi Schulweis was one of the founders of an innovative style of pulpit life, of adapting to the times, of creating programs that fill needs that people hadn't filled before, or changing methodology of how we teach. And that tradition, I mean, he created things that now everyone does all over the country. And that tradition is something that needs to continue, both the things, the groundwork that he laid, but also the idea of, and that Rabbi Feinstein has built off of and continued, what needs doing in the Jewish world that isn't being done? Where are people not being met that they need to be met? What are some of the barriers to entry that are new in the last 3 years, in the last 5 years, in the last 10 years, and how can we surmount them?
Obviously, part of your passion at Park Avenue is reaching out to young people. As you will find out over the next couple days, we have tremendous schools and tremendous educators, but we're not connecting enough to those families. They're very busy, they're overwhelmed. Life is crazy now with COVID on top of just working every day and schlepping kids from here to there. How do we get these young families, young couples, my kids are both in their late 20s, how do we get them connected to our community?
Well, are you asking about the young 20s or the young families? Or?
We have all night. So,
okay. All right, everybody on Zoom, now's your chance to get a little break. We're going to be here for a while. I forgot to welcome everyone who's joining us on the live stream or Zoom. I apologize. Thank you for joining however you can this evening. It's nice to be seen, if not to see. So that's one answer, is how we can make it easier in some ways. What are places that people want to engage? So some of that goes back to this culture of innovation and new methodologies. How many people here listen to podcasts? Okay. How many people here listen to Jewish podcasts? Oh, nice. Okay, well, we'll compare lists in a second, right? But that's one avenue of engagement. It's not going to be the silver bullet. It's not that every 20-something is walking around saying, gosh, if only there was a great Parsha podcast. But finding new ways of reaching people, and also in some ways, the old ways of reaching people, of community, of being there in times of sorrow and being there in joyful times. We were talking at dinner about sometimes it's as much as, let's have drinks once every few months so that you know my face and I know yours, and when you need us, we're here. That's important. It's important to know. Other times it's about talking to someone to, hello, sir, how are you? You seem to be in the target demographic. What brings you, you didn't realize you were sitting in the splash zone here. Yeah, sorry.
Wake up, Sam, wake up.
So to find out, why are you, there's plenty of young people who are here on the search committee. Why are you here and why did you do this? And how can we get your friends involved? I think that's important as well. So some of it is innovation and some of it is patience.
Yeah. Retail politics. Yeah. We hear about meeting Jews where they are.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas and thoughts and experience with doing that?
Yes. It's sort of the Park Avenue Synagogue's motto. I'm sure it's everybody's motto, is meeting people where they are. And I think that is an important thing. And again, meeting people where they are, and also maybe sometimes nudging them along as well is important. So it goes to, why are people not coming? Is it an issue of timing? Is it an issue of apathy? Is it an issue of they don't think there's anything here? I'll say for myself, I was not so interested in Jewish life until around end of high school, college, because I didn't know that Judaism had anything deeper than bim bam. That was what I grew up with. Apples and honey on Yom Kippur and bim bam. And when I was asked by our local rabbi to be a part of a summer philosophy group that a few high school kids wanted, and I realized, wow, there's depth here. These are real smart people talking about very interesting things. And having this rabbi approach me as an adult and teach me things at a high level, that did it for me. I was hooked from then on. So that might work for some, and for others it's food. For others it's like Robert Putnam, in his study of American religion, American Grace, he writes about, it's sort of a conglomerate of a bunch of studies of religious sociology, that the number one reason when people are joining a synagogue, a church, whatever it is, anyone want to guess? The number one reason of why you chose to go to Valley Beth Shalom and not Shomrei or not whatever, right? That's the only other synagogue around here I know. Aliyah. Why you chose that? Anyone want to guess what it was? So the reason people showed up the first time, ideology. I'm a Presbyterian, it was Presbyterian, I'm a conservative Jew, it's conservative. But you ask those people a year later why they're still there or why they're not, why they left, and it's, well, friends. So people will try us or come because of what we have to offer, hopefully, but they're only going to stay if they make connections. And so part of our job needs to be enticing and good content, which you have in spades, and community, which you also have in spades, but making sure that when people walk in the door, they're greeted, and a year later, they're part of the fabric of the community.
Thank you. Israel used to be the one thing that every Jew agreed upon. Sadly, now it divides us in many ways. What role should Israel and Zion play in our synagogue life?
So, I think I will say this, and I would die on this hill, I think that there is no greater project that the Jewish people will engage in this millennia than the creation of a Jewish homeland in the land of Israel. And it is so important that I also believe it's important for all of us to be a part of it. And I think that that means we all have a voice. And I think that means that we all have the right and the obligation to engage. Now, as you sort of said, what engagement looks like for different groups has changed. But I also think it's important to make sure that everyone's voice is heard because it's part of all of our DNA. So we need to be a place for conversation. We need to be a place for love and support. Every conversation needs to come from a place of Ahavat Yisrael, a love of Israel. And every voice needs to be heard as we have these conversations together because we need to get it right. Because this is the thing that in 1,000 years people are going to think about when they think about this era, the state of Israel. And so we need to be a part of building that.
Great. What do you believe, or excuse me, what are you most proud of having been a pulpit rabbi?
The proudest moment that I've had as a pulpit rabbi, I have a couple. One is that I taught all of the high school kids that you say, if you think you've said the Lord's name in vain, you say, Baruch Shem Kavod Mechotel Olam Ve'ed. And I taught them this, I don't remember when. 3 years later, I'm not going to say this out loud, but a kid was in an event, he dropped something on his foot, shouted something he probably wished he hadn't said in front of the rabbi, looked at me and goes, Baruch Shem Kavod Mechotel Olam Ve'ed. I could not have been happier that had stuck with him.
Stuck.
Yes.
Well done.
And I use that to mean that the thing that I'm the proudest of are the relationships that I've built while I was at Park Avenue Synagogue. I think that the people that I've met, the families that I've been involved in, I've been there long enough now that I'm doing baby namings, thank God, for people who I married, who met at a 20-somethings event that I organized. And that feels amazing. Programmatically, I think one of the things that I'm the proudest of is our study circles program. So this was something that after a couple of years at Park Avenue Synagogue, I realized, and I imagine it's similar at a place like this, we're a large synagogue, we need a way to make it feel smaller and help people find that community. And so I went to the board and got approved starting a web of small group learning initiatives. Now, this isn't reinventing the wheel. It's small group learning. People have done it before. But we put a lot of weight behind it, and we created groups based on demographic, young dads, young moms, based on synagogue community, the 2014 Israel trip alumni, and some just based on social groups. But we brought people together once a month in someone's home, a little Torah, a little whiskey, a little food, and by the height of the program, we had 20, 25, 30 groups that were meeting once a month, all learning together, and it was an amazing way. Some people were people who take a million classes and are there all the time, and for some people it's their only thing that they did at the synagogue. Fundraising is essentially an outgrowth of vision and relationships, and having the relationships in place and then the vision and helping people all join in the same vision is basically what it is, that they want to support it. So I worked with the seminary doing fundraising as a rabbinical student intern. And while I'd been at Park Avenue Synagogue, we embarked on a once-in-a-generation capital campaign. We bought two new buildings around the corner. We renovated all of our spaces. We completely changed this physical structure of our synagogue because the needs of the community are significantly different than when a young and plucky Rabbi Feinstein taught in our Hebrew school 15 years ago. And because it's different, so we had to change the nature of the space, and that involved getting everybody on board, and it was a campaign of amount, but also of participation. And we wanted 100% participation in the campaign because the building and the structure is there for everyone, and we want everyone to feel ownership over it.
Thank you. Are there any pictures of a young and plucky Rabbi Feinstein that you can share with us?
If you think I didn't look. But no, part of the renovation was we got rid of a lot of things, so I couldn't find anything.
Well, look harder. Two more questions. The second to the last is, we all know, and you touched on it in your drosh, about synagogue use is changing. It's going to become more social, hybrid versions of events and shul. And how does electronic media play into the future of Jewish life, whether it's our shul or just a shul in general?
I think there's two main ways that it's going to play, and we've all seen this over the course of the last 2.5 years. Part of it is what we're doing right now. How do we make something that's happening in person, that would be happening in person normally, accessible to people who can't be here in person for whatever reason? So that's going to look, I don't know exactly how, but something like this, something where we are essentially broadcasting what's happening, and maybe we have an eye for the camera as well as the people, but that's that. Then I think there's a whole new world of purely digital, asynchronous content. Asynchronous meaning you can do it at any time. Think Netflix. It's just there for, sorry, I'm pointing. Hi, Mr. Wax, how are you? Right, it's there whenever you want. And so if your time to engage in a little Torah is 10 o'clock at night after the kids are asleep and before you crash, great. If you want to listen to it on your drive to work, then we'll try to have hours of content for the traffic that I hear is an issue here. But seriously, I think that it's important that we aim at both things, because things are going to be new, but they're also going to be the same. Because Jewish people have been around for a long time. We've been through a lot of upheaval and changes, and a lot of things have changed, and the core of who we are and what we do has stayed the same because it works and because it speaks to people. And so we want to continue to do that and make that accessible.
I'm not sure who told you about the traffic problems, but you and Aaron saw today. This is it. This is normal.
Yeah.
It took less than 12 minutes to get from Burbank Airport to Toast Cafe in Sherman Oaks. So welcome to Los Angeles.
Great.
What do you believe is the biggest issue facing American Jewry today?
I'm stuck on biggest because there's a lot. I think that it's actually about adaptation. I think it's about the way that we all access information, access community, access content, access our schedules and lives, fundamentally different and is going to continue to change. And that is going to pose fundamental issues in the way that we relate to one another and the way that we relate to our communities. And again, some of it will look very similar, but making sure that we are there and that we're there in people's lives. Their study after study shows that things people used to go to religion for, morality, ethics, what do I do, how do I live, we don't so much anymore. Myself included. We look to other places for how to live one's life. I'd like to take some of that ground back. I think that religion can be and has been one of the most powerful ways to organize people for good that humanity has ever come up with. I think it's important that we continue to do that because it brings us together and it makes us part of something larger than ourselves. It gives us purpose. And those are things we're all craving. And those are things that the world needs us to do. So it's something that I think we all need to do together.
You've had a long day, and Aaron, obviously, have had a very long day coming out from New York, and so I want to thank you very much for your time. I thought every answer was deep, intellectual, besides the UCLA selection.
I'll learn.
I should have.
I'll learn what I'm
earlier.
open to USC.
Okay.
Oh. Sorry.
And before I go, I need to shout out to Nancy Cohen and the Kansas City Chiefs. Yasha Koach on your victory tonight. And thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Rabbi Feinstein.
Thank you.
I just want to thank the rabbi and his wife Erin for being with us tonight. Thank you, and welcome to California. It was 74 degrees and sunny today here, and in your home city of New York, it was 36 degrees and cloudy. Just keep that in mind. We're very glad to have you, and over the next 2 days, you will have a chance to meet this community in many different places, and we're really looking forward to those conversations. So thanks for being here. And to everyone who's joined us on Zoom, thank you for coming in. And to Steve and the tech crew, Yona and Ben, thank you for helping. And to everyone who put this evening together, thank you to everyone for coming tonight. I have the distinct and sacred responsibility of inviting you to dessert outside. Please remember that anything you eat in the presence of two ordained rabbis has no fat, calories, or carbohydrates. So please enjoy a little dessert. You're welcome to come and schmooze a bit with the rabbi, but please be aware that he's 3 hours ahead of us. So a little weary and a little tired. And we're really grateful to have him here to spend some time. We'll have some time over the next few days to continue this conversation. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.